Texts. Khuddhaka Nikàya. Chapter 3 Verses. Theragatha Detailed lives and teachings of elder monks. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Thera: Anganika Bharadvaja. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Anganika Bharadvaja. Reborn in this Buddha age near the Himalaya, at the city of Akata, in the family of a very rich Brahmin, he was named Anganika Bharadvaja. And when he had learned all Vedic wisdom and art, his inclination for renunciation induced him to leave the world and carry on penance for salvation. Wandering here and there, he met the Buddha Supreme on a country tour, and with satisfied mind heard him teach. Leaving his false ascetics, he took monks' orders, and practicing for insight, in due course acquired sixfold abhina. Remaining thereafter in the bliss of liberty, he took compassion on his family, and visited and taught them in the refuges and the precepts. Then leaving him, he went to live in a forest near the village of Khuddhaka of the curse. Going for some purpose to Ugayama, he was approached by some Brahmin acquaintances, who said, "Lord Bharadvaja, what have you seen that you have left the Brahmin communion for this community?" And he, showing that outside the Buddha's church there was no pure rule, said, "Purity without principle my quest. When in the grove I fostered sacred fire. Painful the penances I did for reaching heaven. All ignorant of purity's true path. This happiness by happy ways is won. Oh, see the seemly monk's order of the path. The threefold wisdom have I gotten now. And all the Buddha's ordinance is done. Once but a son of Brahmins born was I. Today I stand Brahmin in very deed. Versed in the triple wisdom and graduate, by sacramental bathing consecrate." Then those Brahmins hearing him, expressed enthusiastic appreciation of the sasana. Thera: Paccaya. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Paccaya. Reborn in this Buddha age at the city of Rohi, in a nobleman's family, he was named Paccaya. Inheriting the estate at his father's death, he decreed to hold a great ceremonial oblation, and a great assembly foregathered. At that congress, the Lord, seated on a throne in a jeweled pavilion made by Vessavana, taught the path, while all the people gazed at him. Even the great multitude understood the doctrine, but Rāja Paccaya went further. For impelled by earlier causes, he renounced his estate and left the world. And even as he had vowed in Kassapa Buddha's time, so now, entering his cell, he vowed to attain before he left it again. And now at last, insight growing, and knowledge attaining full maturity, he attained arahantship. Upon that, celebrating his achievement, he thus declared Anna. 5 days have now gone by since I went forth, a learner, and my mind not perfected. Then in the heart of me within my cell, retired uprose unfaltering resolve. I will not eat nor will I drink again. Nor from this lodging let me issue forth. Nor will I even lie upon my side, while yet the dart of craving lies undrawn. Thus firm I remaining, O see, and mark the forward stride of energy. The threefold wisdom have I made my own, and all the Buddha remains us do is done. Thera: Bakula. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Bakula. Born at Kosambi in a councillor's family before our exalted one appeared, he was being bathed for his health in the great Yamuna river, when a fish swallowed him out of the nurse's hands. The fish was caught bv an angler and sold to the wife of a Benares councillor. When it was split open, the child through the might of his merit appeared unhurt. The wife cherished him as her son, and when she heard his story, asked him of his parents. The king decided they should have him in common, hence he was named Bar-Kula. After a prosperous life he heard the Lord preach, and left the world at 80 years of age. For 7 days he remained unenlightened, but as the 8th dawned he attained arahantship, together with thorough mastery of the letter and spirit of the doctrine. One day the Lord, when assigning manifold eminence to his disciples, ranked Bakula foremost for good health. Thereafter he, when about to pass away, declared Anna in the midst of the monks thus: "He who is glad tomorrow to perform the things that he should yesterday have done, forfeit of happy opportunity, he shall soon repent him fierily. Let him but talk of that which should be done. Let him not talk of what should not be done. Of him who talks much, but does not, wise men take stock, and rate him at his worth. O great, O wondrous is Nibbana's bliss, revealed by him, the utterly awakened one. There comes no grief, no passion, shelter sure, where sorrow and ailing perish forever." Thera. Denia. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Denia. Reborn in this Buddha age at Rajagaha in a potter's family and named Denia, he practiced the potter's craft. It was at his house that the Lord taught Paccaya the noble the sutta of the system of elements. Denia, hearing of Paccaya dying as an arahant that very night, thought, "Mighty to guide verily is the Buddha Sasana, in which a single night suffices to release a man from the sorrows of rebirth." So he entered the monk's order. But he continued to occupy himself with making tiles for roofs. Rebuked for making a clay hut by the Exalted One, he took up his abode in a bhikkhu's lodging, and there won arahantship. Thereafter, on the occasion of addressing bhikkhus who, as self-mortifying, held themselves superior to others, he declared Anna thus: "If one in the monk's discipline take thought how he may live in happy comfort, let him not scorn the monk's uniform, nor hold in disrespect its food and drink. If one in the monk's discipline take thought how he may live in happy comfort, let him frequent a shelter like the living of water snake or mouse primitive, bear. If one in the monk's discipline take thought how he may live in happy comfort, let him be glad whatever the day may bring, and let him be intent on one main thing." Thera. Matanga's son. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Matanga's son. Reborn in this Buddha age in Kosala as the son of Matanga a landowner, he came to be called after his father. He grew up idle in habits, and when his people rebuked him, he made acquaintance with the bhikkhus, noting how happily the Sakya son monks lived. But when he heard the Lord teach the path, he believed and took monks' orders. Seeing the power of Iddhi wielded by bhikkhus, he aspired to the same. And practicing exercises, he won sixfold abhina. Upon that he scourged slothfulness, expressing his own rush of energy in these verses: "Too cold, too hot, too late, such is the cry. And past men who shake off work that waits their hand, the fateful moments fly. But he who understands cold and heat as less than straws, doing his duties as a man, he no defaulter proves to happiness. Dabber and kusa grass and pricking stems, and all that hurts in brush and underwood. Forth from my breast I'll push and thrust away, and go where I the growth may cultivate, of heart's detachment, lone and separate. Thera. Khuddhaka Sobhita. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Khuddhaka Sobhita. Reborn in this Buddha age at Pataliputra, in a Brahman's family, he was named Sobhita. But being a little hunchbacked, he was called Crooked Sobhita. Come of age at the time of the Lord's passing away, he was initiated into monkhood by Ananda, and acquired sixfold abhina. Now, at the first great council in the Setapani cave, he was remained and fetch Ananda Thera to the assembly. Now at that time the company of Devas sent an angel to stand at the entrance to the cave to counteract the work of Mara. And Khuddhaka Sobhita announced his own coming to the angel in this verse. One of the monks who in Patna live, learned and erudite, lo! At the door, advanced in years, stands Crooked Sobhita. Then the angel informed the Sangha of the Thera advent. One of the monks who in Patna live, learned and eloquent, lo! At the door, advanced in years, he stands borne by the winds. Then the Sangha giving him opportunity, the Thera approached them and declared Anna. Good fight he made, and made good sacrifice, and in the battle won. Now by such war, the fervent following of the holy life, in happiness he rests forever. Thera. Varana. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Varana. Reborn in this Buddha age in Kosala as a Brahman's son, he was named Varana. Come of age, he heard a Thera preach the path in a forest, and believing, entered the monk's order. One day going to wait upon the Buddha he saw, on the way, a family quarrel, through which some were killed. Distressed, he hastened to the Exalted One, and told him. And the latter, discerning the progress of his mind, taught him, saying, Whosoever here causes fellow creatures pain, from this and from the other world, from both, this man may forfeit all they yield of good. Whosoever with loving heart compassion takes on every fellow creature, such a man did generate of merit ample store. Train you yourselves in pious utterance, in waiting ever on the wise and good, in searching secret solitary place, and in the calm and concentrated mind. When these verses were ended, Varana, developing insight, won arahantship. Thera. Paccaya. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Paccaya. Reborn in this Buddha age in the family of a Kosalan Brahmin, he saw the Lord work the twin miracle, and believed. Entering the monk's order he fell ill while performing the studies of a monk. His own people attended him and healed him. But he, greatly stirred by his recovery, pressed forward his study, and acquired sixfold abhina. Upon that he went through the air to his own people, and established them in the refuges and the precepts. And some of his kin, so established, died and were reborn in heaven. When Paccaya waited on the Lord, the latter asked after the health of his kin. And Paccaya thus made answer. Though I alone, among unbelieving kin, had faith and wit enough, discerned the path, and with virtue, this was for their good. For see, mine own folk, whom for pity's sake, I took to task, aroused and instructed by me, through their affection and their piety, constrained, towards the monks did good work. They who are now gone hence, ending this span, they reap much happiness among the gods. Brothers of mine are there, my mother too, glad for the pleasures that they now enjoy. Thera. Yasoja. Adapted from the archaic translation by Mrs. Rhys Davids. Yasoja. Reborn in this Buddha age at the gate of the city of Savathi in a fisher's village, as the son of the headman of the fishermen's families, he was called Yasoja. Come of age, he was one day fishing with the fishermen's sons in the river.